bunch of stuff. I love that tune.
Good evening and welcome to Field Talk. I am the Field, also known as Field of Bears, here to remind you that socialism always ends in starvation and genocide. Before we get started, I would like to remind you all that this handsome mug is currently available at my Redbubble store. The link is in the description. It is superior in every way to the no longer available Pinder Ugly mug. It is also superior in every way to the Pinder Sheepdog mug, which will soon be available from his Teespring. So look forward to that. It is almost as good as the Handsome mug. I have not seen it, but I expect it to be almost as good. So, how's everybody doing? How's everyone doing? Kill the Bank, that's good. Pinder's mug is homosexual. I agree. Because it's a Teespring Teespring campaign. Goose Bear, it only lasts for a set amount of time. Pinder's mug stole your GI Joe. It is definitely an ugly thief. That is correct. So, it seems like everybody is doing well. So, the scientific method. The scientific method is a method which we use to test theories. We use it to conduct experiments and record the observed results, which are compared to a hypothesis from which theories and proofs are derived. And with this method, we have run a plethora of experiments proving all kinds of things, leading to many wonderful things, such as the internet, liquid crystal display screens, and other such technological advancements, along with things like antibiotics and spinal surgery and other medical advancements. And the scientific method has been a very, very, very good way of getting consistent results which can be relied upon when you repeat the experiments, thus replicating the results. It is a very, very good way. Goose, you're not going to troll me into that. You're not going to troll me into talking about that. Now, in science, so we've got this method, right? And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to conduct your experiments, observe your result, and record your results, and then you take those recorded results, usually in the form of some kind of academic paper. Mm-hmm. And what you do is you submit them to peer review. And then your peers will look over your data and see if they can identify flaws in your data or methodology or results and all that. And sometimes they will attempt to replicate your experiment. And if everything checks out, they say yes, it's good. Bang! It goes in a journal, and it is considered to be a valid study of some kind. So very, very good. Yeah. Well, See, Goosebear, the best shape might be a dohecadendron. Dohecadedron? Well, it has dohec in it, so that's why I like it. Well, that's a very good point, Space Battleship. Conclusions are not facts. Conclusions are a challenge to future scientists. That's a very good point, because previous conclusions can be proven. Dohecadendron. Shut up, I can't pronounce it. It's my anemone. And I know, because lots of people cannot pronounce the word anemone. I was not attempting to say enemy. Fairbear, you won't be trolling me on this discussion about the scientific method. You won't be doing that. Dohecadedron. There it is. Dohecadedron. In any case, it's a fantastic shape, and it has it has dohec in it. Ah, yes, people who like me troll me all the time, Fairbear. Just ask Pinder. I'm 6 feet tall. Although if it's been a really long day, I'm only 5'11", so. In any case, so we've got this peer review. See, the problem is we found there are two problems. Now, one problem is serious and frightening, and the second problem is serious, frightening, and hilarious. So, problem one. Less than half of scientific hard science papers were able to be replicated in a recent attempt to replicate the study's results. So they were incorrect somewhere in their results, and it's even lower in the humanities. I think it's like 90% of studies could not be replicated in the humanities or something insane like that. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, and I didn't bother looking it up because I got caught up in a fascinating conversation. So we've got these two. This problem. It's frightening. It's a little bit. It's frightening. It's concerning, and it's a problem. And now problem number two is now we've got conclusive evidence that it is possible to have complete nonsense be published as a scientific paper in prestigious journals in the humanities, such as a study about that concluded that dogs humping each other in the dog park is evidence of rape culture, and also publishing a section of Mein Kampf with Jews swapped out for feminist buzzwords, published in prestigious academic papers. And this is a big deal. In fact, I will go ahead and grab the link, the video of the people who did this, because it was fantastic and terrifying at the same time, but fantastic nonetheless. Where are you? There you are. Alright, copy link address. There you guys go. So, if we're accepting, not just submitting, Space Battleship, which would be concerning enough if people were submitting sections of Mein Kampf. So, which would be concerning enough if it was just being submitted, like, I guess, if it wasn't, of course, hilarious and ironic. But the real concerning thing is it was actually accepted. Now, the thing about the dog study was not only was it accepted, it received an award. And it led to the journal forwarding papers to the trolls in order to get them to peer review other papers. And yes, I do feel like this is slightly hellish. So, we've got, I think that probably the scientific method, the actual steps, formulate hypothesis, conduct experiments, observe results, record results, compare to hypothesis. I think that is still fairly good, but see, the problem is these golly gosh darn commies have infiltrated and infested the humanities to such a degree that they can publish sections of Mein Kampf without realizing it. So long as it's sufficiently grievance related. Like, another thing that I saw in this video, you guys can watch it later. Another thing that I saw in this video was that in one of their papers they suggested chaining white children to the floor of the classroom as a learning experience, and that paper was also accepted. So we've got these ludicrous ideas, like absolutely insane, and some of them quite cruel, being accepted so long as they're sufficiently anti-white, anti-male, and anti-heterosexual. And it's all just baffling to me. Well, I am entirely baffled by this story. That now we can't trust peer review as a standard of validity for scientific papers, for studies. Now we can't look at the peer-reviewed study and trust the data. Well, yeah, chapter 10 of Mein Kampf opens with a very funny quote. That is, good job, Adolf. Yeah. Yeah, Adolf. I can't believe people actually. I guess I need to read Mein Kampf and the Communist Manifesto. Golly. Wow. That's pretty. But now you've distracted me with how. Actually, yeah, Gooseberry, you are factually correct. He was a liberal arts major and a failed artist, but I think he might have passed his liberal arts degree. To be fair to good old Adolf and his actual achievements, I think he actually obtained his bachelor's of liberal arts. I think he actually obtained that, but he failed as an artist because apparently he sucked. We all knew that Hitler was a leftist. We already knew he was a filthy commie. We already knew that he was definitely an SJW. Except instead of hating white people, he hated Jews. I mean, literally the same exact thing. Take note, alt right? But anyway. No, I'm not falling for that one, guys. I am not falling for that one. But anyway, the problem I think I've identified is these prestigious, trusted institutions whose reputations have been built up over decades of producing, and sometimes centuries, of producing valuable data that people have been able to use to create products or to adjust to create products, make medicine, or just further human knowledge. These institutions that spent up decades and sometimes centuries building up this reputation for excellence and truth and trust have now been infiltrated by postmodernists and neo-Marxists who have a political axe to grind against, well, white men. Who have a political axe to grind against the dominant culture and desire to see its downfall and consider it to be oppressive, and interpret everything they see through the lens of the status quo is oppressive and bad, and everything that tears it down is liberative and good. I don't know if liberative is a word. Like, the quality of being liberating, I guess. This space. Actually, yes, Space Battleship, that is a very good idea. I like it. But yeah, Dax is probably right. The amount of pure, well, I don't know, because Hitler liked to compare the Jews to lice a lot and ticks and parasites as well, and that's a little bit scary when people are comparing each other to blood sucking insects because. No, not liberation mystical. I might have made up a word on the fly there, but of the quality of being liberating, I don't know what the proper suffix to that would be. I think liberative. It does sound like it would be a word. It seems to make sense grammatically, but I don't know if it's actually been coined. If it hasn't, then I would like it attributed to me. But yeah, anything that tears down the status quo is of the quality of being liberating and therefore good. So they interpret everything through that lens, which allows a lot of just nonsense to get through. And these people, they went and made nonsense on purpose. Like, they didn't even believe it. But a lot of these people, like a lot of these so-called scientists, a lot of these professors at prestigious institutions who bank on generations of reputation built up through decades of excellence. A lot of these people actually believe the nonsense that they're putting on. I think that istic is actually a Greek suffix, so no, I think that my coinage is better than your coinage, Goose Bear. So if it isn't a word, then I like mine better. Yeah, Shakespeare did it all the time, but I'm not Shakespeare. Actually, Fair Bear, the that Hitler is not the first one to blame everything on the Jews. I think it was under Darius, Emperor Darius in Persia, when Israel had been conquered. One of his advisors, I don't remember which one, was blaming the Jews for all the bad things that were going on in Persia. So yeah, it's been done before. No, no. Yeah, good old Darius. Be better than Shakespeare. I don't know if I can be better than Shakespeare, guys. But and I think that we've got this problem if this infestation, if this infiltration into academia is not dealt with, then the reputations for excellence and trustworthiness that these institutions have spent generations accruing will crumble under the stewardship of these social justice idiots. So I think that Empire of the Mind, huh? I wonder if that's good. I wonder if it's in English because I don't care to learn Farsi. I don't plan on ever going to the graveyard of empires. I like being alive too much. There probably is more talk about the Jews in the Quran than in Mein Kampf. Oh, good, it's in English. That way we can learn about Persia. It's actually really fascinating. Really a fascinating area, and a lot of interesting history went down that a lot of people don't know about, and I don't know a lot about it. Muhammad was an illiterate son of an illiterate cobbler. Is that who we're talking about now? Because yes, he was. He was an illiterate. English is the language that binds the people of light, huh? Well, we're sure as hell better than the darn French. Certainly better than the French. Should just helicopter all of the French. I don't know if that's accurate, Fairbear. I don't know if that's accurate. I mean, was Shakespeare really a black man? Is that the road we're going down? And literacy in England was far less rare than people think. reading and writing was actually very widespread in England after the proliferation of the printing press. French is vulgar Latin. They don't even have their own language. Persian is similarly difficult to English. Lots of Arabic and Turkic in it. I didn't know that Turkic was a language. I wondered. I thought it was Turkish. Oh, Fair Bear, I don't know if you've heard about Tariq Nasheed. Look him up. It's hilarious. Yeah, it's a pen name. We all know we've known it's a pen name for centuries. Oh, Turkic is a language family. That's interesting. Um, I don't know if it's weird. I just remember how I'd learn. See, you're making a lot of claims, Fairbear, that kind of run contrary to all of the evidence, namely the prolific collection of plays written for the people of his class that entertained them at the Globe Theatre in the Victorian era. Like, one thing about Shakespeare that I think is true, which historians, because he had apprentices, he had family, there are letters there's letter correspondence between him and other playwrights. All right, I guess I'll look into it maybe if I have time. Hmm. Dax seems to be of the opinion that the historian must be illiterate. But what do you guys think about the troll couple? The Hey, Pinder, welcome. Well, we do know that a lot of his apprentices were ended up having to give credit to Shakespeare while he was at the Globe Theatre, so there is that. Yeah, well, welcome back. I hope I hope Govan or what did Google decide that Gavin's name was actually? Yeah, it's go Gaio is what what Google has decided Gavin's name is. Yes, Space Battleship. That's correct. Many of the works attributed to Shakespeare were actually written by his apprentices, because that's how it worked at the time. If you are apprenticing for someone, then your master gets credit for it. Your computer doesn't spell. So yeah. Yeah, so we were talking, Pinder. We were talking about the story about the troll couple who had submitted several completely fabricated papers to various prestigious journals in academia, including one that was computer generated gobbledygook, another one that was that was about how dogs humping each other at the dog park is an example of rape culture, and another one was a section of Mein Kampf edited to make it sound more feministy. So what did, and I think that the problem I think that the problem of I think that this problem has been caused by an infiltration of commies, and I think that the solution has rotary blades, or at least it has the application of academic rigor. Anyone have other solutions? I have offered up. I have offered up academic rigor and helicopters. Do we have anything in between? I don't know. I think maybe we just go with the helicopters and be done with these filthy commies. Rigor with an R, not a W. What's wrong with you? It's rigor. Gas up the choppers. Okay, okay. So we've got two for helicopters. Are we back? Are we back? Yep to me or yep to each other in chat. Are we back, guys? Are we back, fellas? Loading, loading, loading. No, Dax, you are on Gab. I recognize you from Gab. So you get to have a wrench. And Space is one of my boys. There you go, have a wrench. Wrench for you, wrench for you. No one said anything about a certain guy. Now I guess you're going to have to hit refresh. I'm pretty sure we're back. Okay, good. We're back. Okay, we're back. We're back. You guys, who gets to have wrenches? There we go. Excellent. So, I think we are unanimous on our positions about the helicopters. That is definitely the solution, and it is obviously the best solution. However, if we can apply a non-violent solution somehow, maybe we just, I don't know, I just totally out of left field here. Maybe the universities don't get state funding anymore. Submit a Pinochet meme to Gender Studies Journal in 2019. No horses, not helicopters. I have indeed seen that meme. Dax, I have indeed. I don't know how to find it, but Dax can now link in the chat because he has a wrench, and wrenches get to put links in the chat. it's a privilege that they have because it's not a right, it's a privilege. It's my chat. I get to decide who gets a wrench and who doesn't. Like, maybe just universities have to sink or swim in the free market, full stop. They don't get any more tax dollars. No universities get state funding of any kind for any purpose. And let's see if any of the universities survive. I mean, there's the in between idea, I guess. The in between idea, like for the peaceful non helicopter option, or the peaceful post helicopter option. I mean, whichever ends up happening, we're almost to the point where helicopters are inevitable. Yeah, generally people I like, people who show up, people who like my things on Gab, get wrenches. Is that is that the meme floating? Error says it doesn't work. Yeah. You heart helicopters were there? Well, everybody hearts helicopters. So post helicopters, helicopters are very nearly inevitable at this point. I would like to avoid civil war. This is not as indicative of a civil war the as the Kavanaugh situation, of course. We did go over that in detail over yesterday and Monday, and also on Wednesday last week, and our Devil's Advocate on Saturday was very much into the Kavanaugh story. So we're all very aware of this situation and how polarized the extremes are. And that is something to worry about. This is a different worry. This is corruption in academia. And in a way, it's actually a little bit more worrying because a lot of bad data is being put out into so-called prestigious academic journals that companies and universities and researchers are using to make their decisions, even though the data is not reliable. Like it's a different worry, but it's a worry of a completely different kind because this because what a lot of these people are doing in the humanities is trying to give philosophical cover to the people who want to tear down the cultural edifice that shelters us from our own savagery. And I think that's something that we should be deeply worried about. You might think that the humanities are basically worthless, but it's only because they've been made so. Currently, what they actually do is they give philosophical cover to the left. They push the idea of diversity as a value. They push the idea of tolerance as a value. They push the idea of whiteness as a negative. They push the idea of maleness as a negative under the guise of toxic masculinity. Now, if that was coupled with toxic femininity, and what they were really doing was talking about where femininity and masculinity can go too far, I don't suppose there would be so much of a problem with it. But they only like to talk about when they have problems with the men's. Then you've got these people who go on to media who go and they advise Hollywood people to be pushing certain messages about how America is bad, about how white people are bad, about how men are bad, and it's okay to hate them because they're the oppressors. And what do you do with oppressors? You tear them down and you beat them and kill them and murder them and do all kinds of horrible things to them. Yeah, and that is basically the 2018 newspeak. Women have penises, Islam is peace, whiteness is the cause of all problems. And I would like to put forward an idea, just a little bit of an idea. It does kind of irk me when people on the right, they point over at the Middle East, they point over at Islam and say, there's your patriarchy, that's where you need the feminisms. Well, I would contend that the feminisms would make Islam worse. And I'll tell you why. Islam is bad for everyone. Islam is a system that takes men who, left to their normal devices, tend to grow up to be productive, and generally good natured and capable of trading peaceably with each other. It takes those creatures and makes them into murderous suicide bombers. Now, the last time I checked, you don't make a suicide bomber by privileging him over half of the population. You make a suicide bomber by making him miserable. And they make men miserable by abusing them as children. And Islam is abusive to everyone. It's bad for men, and it's bad for women, and it's especially bad for children. Especially when it's Wahhabism, which is just absolutely dreadful. It's not good for boys to be raised by a creature in a potato sack. It's not good for boys to be beaten on the regular. And it's not good for boys to be sold by their mothers into a practice called bachabazi. This is something that happens primarily in Afghanistan. It's bachabazi is, I think, Farsi for dancing boys. They don't really dance. They end up being chained to beds, and I'll leave it there. So, it's not a patriarchy, guys. It's an authoritarian, totalitarian ideology that micromanages every aspect of its adherents' lives, and it makes them all miserable. Obesity is because of whiteness, because whiteness invented the wheel. That's hilarious, Space Battleship. Let's forget that non-white cultures invented the wheel independently of white cultures, mostly Southwest Asians and East Asians. But other groups also invented the wheel, but they escaped my mind at the time. At this time. I don't know what an IDD is. Is your client retarded? You want to craft a beer and name it after Kavanaugh? That's a fantastic idea. I would go with a pale ale because it's light and drinkable and you can have lots of them. That's a great idea, Pinder. Oh, disabilities. Yeah, I guess your client would be retarded. The Kavanaugh Stout would be called Devil's Triangle for sure. But yeah, that's. I think I'm done talking about. I'm done talking about how Islam is bad for everyone, not just the women's. Oh boy, I'm going to be called an Islam apologist for that. Really, Space Battleship? That's a bit odd. I think maybe you might have to check on your internet connection. That's something that is a bit odd. Normally, my browser is much better than mobile, but that's because my computer is plugged directly into my router, so that might have something to do with it. I don't know. But again, I don't know how things work over there in Airstrip 3, so I don't know what to tell you about that. Space Battleship. Sorry about that. Yeah, the Earth is not flat; it is a cube. So you are just wrong. The Earth is a cube. It is the best shape, and it's got sharp corners, and that's why ships disappear in the distance. Yes, so we live in Minecraft world. I think that's what we're on. It's cube Earth theory. And watch that one actually take off. That'd be hilarious. That would be hilarious. Never mind. I bet you there are people who actually believe in cube Earth theory. Borg Earth. Look out! It's Borg Earth. Here we come. Yeah. We're about to end. We're talking about how the Earth is actually a cube, and flat earthers just need to get woke to the other six faces of the Earth. But anyway, yeah, again, I think we can end it. I think we can actually end it 10 minutes early again because my dogs are going insane, and I need to make sure there isn't a predator eating all my chickens. So I'm going to say if you enjoyed the stream, please go ahead and hit like. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. And if you want the subscription to mean anything, hit the bell, please. And if you want to support me, you can sow the field at paypal.me/fieldtalk. Or you can follow the link in the description to buy this handsome mug, which is superior in every way to Pinder's formerly available ugly mug, but you can look forward to his slightly less inferior sheepdog mug, which will be supplied to his local police and firefighters. So I'm sure that it will be less inferior than his previous mug. Please go ahead and follow me on Gab, link in the description. And yeah, that's it. As always, have a great evening, and never forget that socialism always ends in starvation and genocide.